Hello everyone, Az here with another video from Fantasy Football Scout. It is my team selection ahead of game week 11. I've got a bit of a pain in my neck, so if you see me doing that or wincing a bit, that is why. If you're listening to some audio, you won't probably have a clue, so don't worry about it. Hope you're all doing well. Hope your weeks are going fine. Obviously, we've got lots of game weeks in quick succession coming, so transfer planning and making sure kind of your moves are planned out is really important. And obviously with all the injuries to Trent and James, it's not easy with the blank. You might be really wanting to get Cancelo, but like you're probably like me and decided whether it's worth it given they've got Liverpool and then a blank. So lots of kind of decisions to make. Do check out Fantasy Football Scout. Obviously, to help you with your transfer plans, do check out our transfer planner in the members area as well, so you can see how your team is going to shape up across the different weeks. That's what I've been using. It is very useful. In this video, I'm just going to talk about how my team's set up, my watch list of players that I'm looking at, and then kind of, just kind of my plans for going forward. So let's get straight into it. Just before we do that, let's talk about Spitch. Spitch are a partner with Scout this season. If you've never heard of Spitch, it's a kind of a new fantasy football game where you can compete against other people to win cash prizes, basically. There's a completely free-to-play game where there's £2,500 in the prize pool. If you think you've missed out, then you haven't. It's your best 5 game weeks across the whole season that counts. So it's a bit of a new way of doing it. So, it's not like FPL where every kind of game week matters. It's just your kind of best 5. So do check it out. There's also a £5 to play version as well. Obviously with bigger kind of prizes too. If you're entering your own money, if you're playing in these kind of games, do be aware this is a form of gambling. So gambleaware.co.uk, 18 plus only, and obviously don't gamble anything that you can't afford to lose. It should be a bit of fun, a bit of something kind of on the side, not something that causes more stress and pain than it's worth. Spit's really interesting though. The whole new points catalogue, so you earn loads of different points for different things. Players can earn hundreds of points in a game. Think of it like the bonus point system in FPL, but played out in kind of maximum points. So things like passes, throw-ins, corners taken, having a shot on goal, all this stuff counts positively and negatively. If a player mistimes a pass, commits a foul, these things are all kind of penalised. So what you get is a really kind of comprehensive and sophisticated scoring system. There's no captains as well in Spitch, so if you're not a fan of the captaincy, that might be something that you really enjoy. And each week as well, you have a budget, but you can go over budget, so you can have the most expensive team imaginable, but for every point you go over budget, you incur a points penalty. So you've got to decide whether it's kind of worth it. So lots of different kind of interesting things with Spitch that are different to kind of regular sort of fantasy football that you might be used to. There's a QR code on the screen. Just give that a screenshot if you're watching on your phone, or zap it with your phone quickly if you're watching on desktop. There's links in the description below. Yeah, and let us know what you think of it. Right, let's get into, I'll just quickly recap game week 10. It was a pretty painful game week for me. 58 points wasn't too bad. I was making this big call between Ward and Henderson. I say big call. Couldn't decide which one to kind of go for. In the end, I went for Ward. Henderson got 2, Ward got 1, so it made no difference. But yeah, Ward I got overexcited by his 8 points the week before, and he was rubbish again. So I don't think I'll be playing him for the considerable future. Then I had Trent with 0, James with 1 off the bench, really disappointing. Trippier with 7. He's in 50% of teams, doesn't really matter anymore, but he is having an incredibly strong start. And then Gay with 1. Disappointed with him. I thought Palace would win that to 0, and obviously Leeds scored. And then my attackers fared better. 11 for Foden, 12 for Martinelli, 5 for Zaha, 1 for Maddison, not so great. Then Haaland with another goal for 12, and then Kane with 7. So yeah, 58 points, but I took a -4. But in reality, we've seen some much higher scores. It was Cancelo, obviously the player I didn't own, that I really kind of missed out on. We're all waiting to know what's going to happen with Mitrovic. Hopefully he's fit for Bournemouth. I've obviously got to address the Trent and James problems. I've got Emerson on the bench, who I still maintain looked to be a really good option when he came in, but now he's not in the team, so he's not going to be someone who I can rely on either this week or in 12 when the blank hits, which is a shame. Although people with Neco Williams, for example, are now in probably quite a similar boat. given that Aurier started the last couple of games. So yeah, not great for the 4 million defenders with Patterson injured as well. So hopefully some of you are in a better situation than I am. I think if you've got 2 frees, even if you've got some of these players, you're pretty much set. I've only got 1, so it's a little bit kind of more difficult for me. Let's have a look at some of the players I'm considering. In defence, I mean, this is where it's really, really tricky to know who to kind of go for. I mean, look at my watch list. It's a pretty, well, I say dire. I mean, he's even on there. It's a pretty dire bunch. It's Castagne, Dalot, Creswell, Cancelo, Cucurella and Dyer. I mean, they're the ones that I'm kind of really looking at as my kind of replacements for Trent. If we look at their non-penalty XGI per 90, Perisic is leading the way of defenders over the season so far with 0.35. I've talked multiple times about how that is pretty low when you compare him to the likes of Trent last season, who was a kind of 0.5, or James or Cancelo, who are kind of all around that. I mean, 0.35 is not where I expected Perisic to be. On my list, Castagne is coming fairly strongly, 0.22. On here, it's just less as defence, isn't it? But he does have that kind of attacking potential and some decent fixtures. But if you've got Ward as well, doesn't exactly inspire too much confidence. Dalla and Creswell tied on 0.14. Creswell, again, disappointing. He is on the set pieces. West Ham's defensive numbers are really good. But, there's Zuma there as well, who's a little bit cheaper. I want to see a bit more from Creswell. He's on the watch list because I have been impressed by West Ham defensively, but he's only got 20 points so far this season, and things just aren't really clicking at the moment. So I don't know if I'm going to go there. Particularly, he's got Liverpool kind of in 12. Now Cancelo is next. I mean, a non-penalty XGI per 90 of 0.13 is ridiculously low for him. Got the goal and assist, both from pretty low XG and XA sort of opportunities there. But he has got 61 points. He has made an incredible start to the season. His price has gone up to 7.3 now. I started with him. I dumped him for Diaz because I thought maybe Diaz could cover some of his points because the attacking numbers weren't there. Diaz is now kind of in this rotation with Akanji and other centre-backs, and Cancelo is just by far the standout choice. The question is, do you get him this week? I mean, if you don't own him, do you get him against Liverpool away, and then you've got a blank? I reckon the spread of points in that Liverpool game is between 2 and 10 for him, probably. Looking at some of the other options like Cucurella, Dyer, they don't have that attacking threat, really. And even someone like Creswell, I mean, you're probably only looking at 4 to 12 points. 2 clean sheets will get you 12, 4 for the thing. So, you could save yourself a transfer if you think that Cancelo is a must, which he probably is going from game week kind of 13. So I'm just trying to weigh up whether that having Cancelo and playing with 10 makes it worth it. I mean, obviously, if you get Cucurella and Wadai, you've got a chance of a goal, you've got the chance of something kind of happening, and you're not going to get anything from Cancelo in game week 12 at all. You know that. So you are kind of buying a ticket, but you would effectively need 4 points really for that to kind of be worth it if you end up having to take a hit for Cancelo, for example. So I'm leaning towards, I'm not really a reserved kind of manager. I like to go for players who I think have got a bit more potential. I probably will go for Cucurella and hope he lines up at left wing back against Villa, given that he missed out in the Champions League. Dunk is another option. He's not on my watch list. I'm not really too enamoured with Brighton defenders, but over the next 2, it's Brentford and then it's Forest. Could be a decent option. But then I'd be moving him straight back out for Cancelo anyway. So I'm not really decided what I'm going to do, but it will probably be Trent out for one of these kind of uninspiring defenders. In midfield, I've got Almiron in there now. Got to start taking him seriously. Just 5.2 million, 44 points there in midfield. I mean, that's more than Sterling, for example. He's been playing most games for Chelsea. It's the same points as Son. Who would have predicted that? It's more points than Bowen. It's an incredible start to the season for him, and I can't really see any reason why that can't continue. He's being used in kind of a really attacking role for Newcastle. The fixtures are decent. They're scoring goals. Howe's got them playing in a really, really good way. So I think, given that it's Everton at home, in the blank, I think if you've got players who don't have a game, for example, and you want to target someone or shift funds around a little bit, I think Almiron is a really strong option for that week. You might see my dog just kind of come in. Other players here. I mean, Saka, I'm looking at 0.55 non-penalty XGI. That's really high, and he's got the penalties as well to kind of fall back on. So I do really like the look of him. I think particularly from after the blank, I'll be really considering getting in Saka. I think Kane might be leaving my side, as I'll talk about in a sec, with kind of Saka or Jesus coming in to target kind of Arsenal's good run and to double up on their attack. Anthony's on here as well. I put him in here kind of right at the start. I've got to be honest, I didn't think he would have lasted this long, but more and more impressed with him kind of each week. His non-penalty XGI is 0.47, which is really high, just below Trossard's over the season, for example, just above Son's of 0.46. Really, really strong start for him. United's fixtures still a bit of a mixed bag, but I think once they kind of lighten up a little bit, I think Anthony's going to be someone who I look to get. I think at 7.6, he's great value. Looking up top, you can see I've got Haaland there for kind of reference. Non-penalty XG per 90 of 1.1, so high. Nunes not far behind though over the season, 0.9, gone down to 8.8. I tell you, if I didn't have these defensive issues, I would be getting Nunes. Probably not this week because they've got City, but definitely for that West Ham game. Salah had a really strong game in the Champions League last night. Came off the bench, scored a hat-trick. Got to be the favourite now for the captaincy if you've got him. But I think Nunes, I've been impressed with him lately. I was impressed with him in their last game against Arsenal. And even though they lost that game, he was making good runs. They were trying to get him the ball. He looked sharp and fit and strong. So Nunes is that player who I think if you've got 2 transfers and you're relatively well set up and you want to take a bit of a punt in Game Week 12, maybe you've got Jesus, for example, and you want to get in someone and hand them the captaincy, I'd like the Nunes shout. I also like the Trossard captain, potentially. I also like the Wilson captaincy in that week as well. 0.86 non-penalty XGI for Wilson is really high and just 7.3 million. So there are some interesting options, I think, for Game Week 12 when you're not going to be captaining Haaland because he hasn't got the game. I've also added Scamacca to this list. West Ham starting to pick up a little bit now, starting to get some results. I think Scamacca is an excellent player, and I think we're going to start seeing the best of him. His non-penalty XGI is low, one of the lowest kind of out of all the midfielders. Well, it is the lowest out of all the midfielders and forwards on this list, at just 0.28. But he does cost just 6.7. We still don't really know what's going on with Mitrovic. I do wonder if maybe if Mitrovic is out, we might start seeing some people moving towards him or someone like Danny Welbeck with 0.36. But I'd rather have Scamacca. I think at 6.7 he could be a really, really good differential for us in a time when we're looking to kind of find players to kind of get ahead of the crowd. So coming on to my team then, here we are. This is how I'm set up ahead of Game Week 11. As you can see, I've got Henderson in goal with Ward on the bench. As you can see, I've got Henderson in goal with Ward on the bench. Well, Henderson is becoming a bit of an issue for me, conceding. I kind of wanted Forest to be, having, conceding shots from outside the box because that's where you think your goalkeeper's going to make saves. But, his expected goal prevented is really, really low. He's not keeping Forest in games. He's gone from at the start of the season, they're kind of like their saviour, to almost being one of their weakest players. So that really needs to dramatically turn around, and I can't see it happening. I mean, he's got 2 decent-ish games on the horizon, but then it's a really tough run of fixtures. So I think I'm going to have to look to get rid of him. I think Kepa is the one that I'm looking at 4-4, but with all the injuries, with the blank, with players like Cancelo that I want to get, using a transfer on a goalkeeper wasn't really what I had in mind. So it is tricky, but yeah, he's got to be kind of red circled at the moment because I'm just not happy with what I'm getting from him. Not even getting the save points that I anticipated. Trent is also now an issue. I think he was an issue anyway, given his form and the way he's playing. But he's an easy sell. Obviously, the obvious move is to do Trent to Cancelo. Cancelo is the one I want long term, but as I mentioned, I'm probably going to have to go for one of these kind of weaker defenders. Cucurella is currently leading the race, but it could end up being Dunk or Dyer. Oh, even just saying those names is pretty depressing. James, I've still got him green. I'm still happy with him. I think as long as he's back, next week, they're talking about the United game. I was very, very surprised to see him dropped in their last match. Potter made a whole host of changes ahead of that kind of Milan game. So it just shows that his position in the team isn't completely secure, but he's going to start the majority of games when he can. And we saw what he can do in the kind of the game before when he got the goal and the assist and the clean sheet. So I'm not panicking on him yet. He won't be a player that I'm looking to sell unless we start seeing even more rotation from him. But I can understand why people are getting frustrated with him because he's just not delivering any points. Trippier, yeah, I mean, what can you say? He's been absolutely incredible. You know, a rare for a bandwagon like Trippier to actually deliver week in week out. His BPS is so high. He's getting assists. He's still got the set piece threat. So yeah, I mean, he's just an absolutely brilliant player and underpriced at 5 million when he started, which I think everyone kind of knew. He'll probably come in at 6 next year. It'll give people a bit of a decision to make. Foden's fine, no problems with him. Got a really good record against Liverpool as well. He's one of those players that's quite nice because I think he's still flying under the radar a little bit, like Cancelo was for me, difficult to get to. People aren't going to be going for Foden because they're going to be worried about that Liverpool game and the blank. He's going to be really, really popular in game week 13 when City have a really good run. So I'm just going to kind of enjoy him as a bit of a differential while I can. I think people with De Bruyne as well might be looking at moving to Foden to free up some funds, which I don't mind at all. Maddison, disappointing blank for him, but Leicester again, really, really poor. They're going to have a really tough time against Palace. I'm not expecting, lots of points in this game, but he's still the kind of driving force of that side. Set pieces, corners, scoring open play goals, doing everything you kind of want. So, I'm not panicking with him, but I don't think this is the best kind of game for him. What I do really like though is Zaha this week. I really like the look of Palace against Leicester. I think Evans is complaining about tightness in his calf. They've got defensive issues as well. If Palace can score a goal, I think Leicester are just going to crumble. And the trickery of players like Zaha, Eze, Elise, the physical presence of Edouard, I think there could be goals in this for Palace. I'm expecting 2 or 3 goals, and Zaha to be heavily involved, and he's on the penalties as well. So easy hold for me. And then Martinelli completes my 4. I mean, I'm really happy with these 4. It's rare, a lot of the time I've got a player kind of in my forward line or my midfield that I don't really like, but obviously Martinelli's been superb against Leeds. I think he's a potential captain option if you are thinking of going against Haaland this week. I can see them getting some joy down that left hand side against Leeds, and yeah, absolutely fantastic against Liverpool. So I think people might be looking to sell him, but obviously if you bought him at 6 and you're going to be selling him at 6.3, 6.4, then you've got to pay another 0.3, 0.4 to get him back, and you're going to probably have to use transfers and hits and stuff. I think he's probably quite an easy hold. I think him and Haaland are the easiest holds if you've got them, given that the value tied up. I mean, I am seeing people selling Haaland, ahead of a difficult looking game on paper against Liverpool, they've been struggling defensively, and then this game and this blank game. But yeah, it's not for me. He's not going anywhere. I just don't want to have the headache of trying to get him in when there's probably going to be more injuries and stuff, like we've already seen, especially with midweek games and players tired and fatigue. You want to kind of keep those transfers back as much as you can. So yeah, Haaland, easy hold for me. Mitrovic as well. I mean, he's an easy hold if he's fit. Obviously, if he's not, we might have to start considering moving him on. The fixtures are really nice for Fulham. I mean, if he hasn't trained again this week, and we'll know tomorrow, you've got to think he's going to be a doubt for the game next week. As well, and then that's 2 games, and then you think, well, maybe I could be moving him for a Skamaka or someone else. So that press conference tomorrow, we thought he was going to be back and ready for this game, but we're not 100% sure. This is a vital game, though. They're going to be doing everything they can to get him fit for this. If he's not fit for this one, I think he might even be a sell because he's obviously not right and not fit. So yeah, let's wait and see for the team news yesterday. Neil and I will be doing that tomorrow, and we'll kind of see what they say about Mitrovic. But yeah, hold if he's fit. Obviously, a big decision to be made if he's not. And then I've got Kane here as well. I mean, Kane is an easy hold for me this week against Everton. Then obviously he's got the game in 12. I think this green might change to an orange pretty soon. I might be looking at freeing up some funds from him, moving to 5 in midfield. Maybe grabbing a Saka, maybe grabbing another 8 million mid like a Bowen or someone else, or maybe Anthony, like I talked about earlier. And then, because if I go for Jesus, for example, that gives me 4 million to play with and then an upgrade from Pereira. So that is kind of really tempting to kind of do. That would massively stack me out though. It'd be hard to know who to bench kind of each week, but it would mean that my team is looking pretty strong, especially if Mitrovic is injured. I can move Mitrovic down to a cheaper striker like a Solanke, for example. I've been quite critical of, but could serve as a decent bench option kind of going forward. So that's it, pretty much. My plans are, like I've said a few times, Trent to a defender, 1 free transfer, 0.3 million in the bank. Let me know in the comments what you think of my team. If there's any glaring transfers that you think I should be considering that I haven't thought about. In game week 12, I'll be rolling, with kind of 10 men probably. I don't think I'll be using a transfer to upgrade Emerson to anyone. I might just hope that he can kind of get some minutes. So it might even be me playing with 10 in that week. And then when it comes to 11, I'll be bringing Cancelo sort of straight back in. No matter how I have to do it, I definitely will be. So that's my kind of midterm thinking. Let me know what you're thinking. Let me know what you think of my plan. And I will catch up with you all very soon.